I'm James Rule. Welcome to the Lonely Leader podcast, where we help existing and aspiring leaders find clarity, build resilience, drive performance, and enhance fulfillment. Leadership pitfalls to avoid. That's the focus of today's episode, and we're going to play a little bit of bingo. Now, normally when you play bingo, if you get a full house, you celebrate. There's a cash prize or some kudos. But on this occasion, I sincerely hope that you do not get bingo and a full house, because these are traits that I want you to be conscious of and actively avoid. Unfortunately, when I go into organizations and work with leaders and their wider management teams, these are traits that I see all too frequently that at best are compromising the culture, the performance of the staff and the leader, and at worst are leading to a high turnover of staff where people just decide this isn't the organization for me and they leave. So as I run through this list, as ever, I encourage you to reflect, think about your leadership style, and think about how these relate to your day-to-day leadership. Number one, failure to delegate. I've talked about it in various blogs, publications, podcast episodes. But the reality is this is and always will be one of the most difficult aspects for leaders to embrace. That mindset of, well, I can do it best. Even if I wanted to delegate, it's going to take me too long to train people up. Whatever the barrier to embracing it, too many leaders are failing to delegate. And when you fail to delegate, it implies you don't trust your team. And if that is the perception they're taking from your failure to delegate to them, then you strike at their sense of value. And if people don't feel valued, they're not going to want to stay within that organization. Number two, micromanagement. Links very closely to the failure to delegate. When leaders fail to give people the room and the autonomy to execute a task. Yes, by all means, set the vision. Yes, the objectives, but you must step back and allow people to execute without standing over their proverbial shoulder. Just like the failure to delegate, excessive micromanagement implies a lack of trust, which strikes at the sense of value, which again is encouraging your people to look to the exit door rather than how to enhance their career and deliver to a higher level within your organization. Number three, not listening. We've all heard the adage, 2 ears, 1 mouth. But so many of us are guilty at delivering the strategy, thinking this is the proactive way to lead, see the problem, deliver the solution, tell people to get on with it. If you fail to listen, you are closing off a whole realm of creativity. You are closing off access to innovation and wisdom that's all around you in your staff. But if you don't listen and you don't encourage that feedback, you will never access it. Which ties into point number 4, not encouraging contrary opinions. Now, on the one hand, it's easy to think, well, it'd be nice if everyone agreed with me and all my ideas were perceived as great ideas, but that's not the reality. And if you strive to create that in your leadership team, then you are compromising yours and your organization's performance. It's important to welcome contrary opinions. It's important to be able to debate and critique strategy, so sense check it, if you will, before you roll it out into the wider market. But if your people are fearful of offering contrary opinions, then just like the previous point of active listening, you are closing off a whole realm of innovation and potential ideas and suggestions that may well enhance your strategy or encourage you to just course correct and tweak that strategy a little bit. Number 5, taking the credit. No leader, however good they are, is going to be responsible for each and every new idea and quality bit of performance within an organization. And yet, despite stating that blindingly obvious fact, I still see regularly where a leader can't help but take the credit for ideas that have come from their team in order to enhance their profile when they're reporting to their direct reports. So taking the credit might seem sensible in the moment, but as with a number of these points we're talking about, it is a surefire way to erode the culture within your organization and to erode the sense of value your people have and the sense of trust and loyalty they have in you as their leader. Closely tied to this, not absorbing the criticism. I'm a big believer that leaders should absorb the flack, protect their staff. When there's a problem, irrespective whether it's a mistake they made, the buck stops with them. It's that old adage, they've got to take responsibility. And by doing that and by protecting their team, the level of respect, loyalty, and value is significantly enhanced. Now, of course, your people will know when you are standing in front of them and protecting them. They will know full well whether it's your mistake or not. And that's all that matters. But they will also recognize that you're protecting them from wider fallout, higher level of criticism. I saw this a lot in sport. Obviously, sport is one of those industries that's very much in the goldfish bowl. And you see the best leaders, the best coaches, the best administrators constantly seeking to protect their people. Yes, that doesn't mean issues have to be avoided. There will be lots of issues that are dealt with, but they're dealt with behind closed doors. So a leader that can happily share the credit, praise where praise is due, and let their direct reports know this idea came from that particular individual. And on the flip side, also be comfortable absorbing the criticism and taking the blame, will build a far more loyal and engaged team around them than somebody who does the reverse. Point number 7 is being slow to praise and express gratitude to your team. We talked earlier about the challenges that present themselves when leaders take credit for ideas and innovation within their team and pass it off to their superiors as their own idea. Equally, there is sometimes a lack of attention and focus given to praising and recognizing good performance, good practice. That could be somebody exceeding their KPIs. It could be somebody launching, securing one of the most innovative strategies the business has ever seen. Or it could just be a really simple piece of high quality customer service, really taking time to go that proverbial extra mile and look after a customer and give them an exemplary level of care. It doesn't matter where on the spectrum the right for praise or gratitude originates. What is key is that the leader sees it. A momentary word of thanks, a quick email, a personal handwritten note, any or all of the above are like rocket fuel to the recipient. Whether people openly express it or not, we all like to receive a pat on the back. We all like to be recognized. And we've talked a lot in this episode about the need for people to feel valued. That is one of the easiest and most effective ways to enhance organizational culture. And a lot of these leadership pitfalls are the easiest way to avoid achieving that culture. By falling into these pitfalls, you are in effect killing off any sort of quality culture within the organization. So I urge you and everyone around you in your team to be constantly looking for areas where you can express thanks, where you can praise your peers, your colleagues for a good job well done. It will not be a wasted effort. Playing favorites. Not me, I hear you say. Well, honestly, we are naturally drawn to the people that agree with us. We are naturally pushed away from those people that are offering the contrary opinions and disagreeing with us. We are naturally drawn to those people that give us no challenge, just get on with the job, deliver results consistently. And we are naturally pushed away from those individuals that, whilst they might deliver quality output, there's always issues, problems that they also create that demand our time and attention. There's just 2 scenarios where it's our human nature to play favorites with the people that are not causing us problems. that are agreeing with our ideas, and to not perhaps give the same time and attention to those people on the other side, causing some challenges, offering contrary opinions. Now, a little bit tongue in cheek, granted, I said not me, but very few of us can hand on heart say we don't play favourites to a degree. And your team will spot it, they will see straight through it. And you've got the theme of this podcast now. These leadership pitfalls undermine the sense of value in your team. So you might think, well, does it really matter playing favourites? You might not think so, but ask the people around you if it matters to them. And I'm sure you'll get a very different perspective. Number 9, disconnection between your words and your actions. Do you walk the proverbial walk? Talk is cheap. All these familiar adages roll off the tongue, but where do they come from? Well, they all originate with the leader that might preach in his words what he expects, the standards, the KPIs, everything that people are held to account against, but then doesn't deliver on them themselves. And a leader must set the standards. They must be the role model in epitomizing the traits that you are holding the wider workforce to account for. Do your words align with your actions? Number 10, lacking composure. Have you ever worked for a boss that was constantly flying off the handle, raising their voice, getting overly emotional when confronted with a difficult situation and a piece of adversity that they had to navigate through? We've probably all had one. And how did it make you feel? And how did that set the atmosphere within the office environment? In reality, as leaders, we are the proverbial thermostat. We set that temperature, that vibe, that atmosphere within the office. If we are angry, volatile, unpredictable, then that is the temperature, that is the tone we set within the wider organization. So however difficult a challenge is, however surprised we are with negative news or results, we have to find a way to process that and remain composed if we don't want to have a debilitating impact on those people that we're tasked with leading. Ineffective performance appraisal is number 11. Now, my background is in sport. I spent time playing professional rugby union, and I spent a lot of time working as a CEO within the sporting sector. So I've had first-hand insights into how well sport conducts appraisals. The reality is performance coaches will appraise and look at performance on a weekly basis. They will preview opposition, they will discuss game plans with their players, and then they will execute that strategy. And immediately after the game, they will engage, not immediately, but within 24 hours usually, they will engage in a comprehensive review of that performance. That's done as a collective, the whole team. It's done in small groups, and it's also done individually. Now, what that does is it's giving constant feedback, insight into what's gone well, what's not gone so well, how do we improve it? Now, too many leaders in industry are still relying on what I believe is a totally ineffective 6-monthly or worse annual appraisal system. How on earth can anybody track a whole 12 months of performance, assess it, dissect it, and come up with a plan to help that individual improve and develop? It's an impossibility. Now, I appreciate you might not be able to be doing weekly previews and reviews every week of the year, as is happening in sport, but there has to be a happy medium. And too many leaders are curious as to why they're not getting the best out of their team. And one of the origins of that problem is always, in my experience, a lack of appraisal, a lack of feedback, a lack of an ability for people to understand how they grow, how they develop. So an ineffective performance appraisal is something that I would wager is an area you could improve. Not every one of these will be relevant to you, but in 99% of cases, when I step into an organization, I find that there is a lot of improvement, a lot of low-hanging fruit in terms of how leaders are appraising their team. Point number 12 is a failure to develop your people. You're not there as a leader just to track that tasks are being executed and to hold people to standards. Yes, this is part of the role, but a core part of the role, a tremendously fulfilling part of the role in my experience, is supporting the growth and development of your people. You have a role to play as a coach, as a mentor. Ties in very closely to the performance appraisal notion. The people working for you and with you have a desire to learn from you. They have a desire to learn from your experience. Where is the sense in them going down the same dead ends, the same proverbial rabbit warrens, and making mistakes that you've already made? If you spend some time coaching and mentoring them, you can help them avoid those pitfalls. You can help them get to their destination quicker because they have the benefit of your insight and your wisdom. So I think that's another hugely neglected area, that we're so busy with our tasks and the execution of our strategy that we fail to carve out the time to coach and develop our people. Next point, point number 13, is a failure to protect, maintain, and enhance, in reality, your physical and mental health. Often this comes from a very noble mindset, and I've been down this track myself. You're so busy outwardly looking at what your staff need, your stakeholder needs, that you fail to find the time. It becomes a luxury rather than a necessity in your mind to invest in your own physical and mental health. I used to work out before work. I then stopped that because it gave me a great window to work on my emails. Then I was going to do it after work, which I did for a period. But then that became a second great window for working on emails. So we can delude ourselves that we'll get to that physical workout. But when we start to neglect it, it actually strikes at our ability to lead, because engaging in physical activity, and it doesn't need to be CrossFit, massively intense workouts. It can be walking, swimming, biking, anything to raise the heart rate and take your mind away from work temporarily. It actually restores your energy. And linked into physical health, mental health, doing something to help you process stress. That might be reading, taking part in a class, listening to a podcast, doing things that help restore your mental and physical energy, ensure that A, you can bring the best version of you to a role, and B, they protect you over the medium to longer term against the corrosive impact of illness and problems such as burnout. So again, it isn't a critique. I've been there. There's no judgment. But one of the most neglected areas I find with leaders is they cannot justify taking the time in a manically busy day, particularly when you tie in personal responsibilities as parents and partners, etc., to work out, and time in the day to restore their mental energy. Lack of clarity is my 14th pitfall. Now, that might sound a little bit strange to say, but again, it's born out of experience. Leaders are so busy with such a big to-do list that they fail to take the time to step back and say, hang on, let me just reflect here. Where are we? Where are we trying to get to? How far apart is that disconnect? And what needs to be done, me as an individual and within my wider team, to get us there? We're so busy and so close to the work required that we start to lose our strategic overview. We start to lose our clarity. And finally, last but not least, neglecting your personal, professional growth and development. It ties in with the neglecting your physical and mental health. But again, we've all heard that phrase on an aeroplane: put your oxygen mask on first. It's the same in business. You have to continue your growth. You have to continue your knowledge acquisition to stay relevant, to stay current, and to enhance your ability to lead with the highest level of impact. Yes, physical and mental energy is one area, but also invested in the courses, the mentors, the coaching, the training, whatever is required to help you grow. And again, I see a lot of leaders stumble here from very pure intentions. They look at the budget, they want to invest in the people, and they don't really want to spend anything on themselves. But the whole organization stumbles if the leader is not optimizing their performance. So a classic pitfall I see is leaders, when I ask them, when's the last time you invested in you? When's the last time you took part in a training course? When was the last time you engaged a coach or a mentor? There's often a little pause and a wry smile, and invariably it was some time ago. So as ever, I hope these have been useful. I sincerely hope that nobody is calling bingo and is aligned with every 15 of the pitfalls that I've alluded to today. But if you are, and you're looking for some support to help you address that, then please do get in touch through the variety of communication channels you can find in our show notes, on social media, or on the Lonely Leader website. We'd be happy to support you. Thanks for listening to the Lonely Leader podcast. I'd be very grateful if you could share and follow if the content resonates. And if you're looking for additional free resource to support your continued growth and development, then please do check out our social media and website details in the show notes. Remember, quality leadership on the outside must always start within.